Wow, a couple of inches of new snow. Just beautiful out here. Everything is still and quiet. It's so easy to track some coyotes or deer. You could just spend all day out here. Now, many people do. Sometimes it gets so mesmerizing, you lose track of the time. You lose track of the weather. Or maybe, just maybe, you lose track of the trail. Things look so different sometimes when they're coated with snow. That trail doesn't look the same anymore. Where are you? How am I going to get home? What time of day is? Time is running short. Panic starts to set in. A lot of people, I think, get into trouble every year in the same or similar scenario. So I'm going to show you just something that you can put together that'll keep you safe whether you're going for that hour walk or 3-hour walk. Just a little insurance to keep by your side in the form of a kit. So today on Black Squirrel Bushcraft, let's talk about the kit, a bushcraft kit for your survival. Coming up next. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Black Squirrel Bushcraft, and thank you for watching. Today, we're going to talk about a bushcraft kit, or a kit used by bushcrafters, hikers, anybody that wants to be a little bit prepared when they walk out in the woods for an hour, for a couple hours, or what have you. The kit that I'm going to talk about today incorporates the use of I guess you'd call it an acronym or what have you, of what I heard on the internet not too long ago by Dave Canterbury. I don't know if he started it. I will give credit to him if he in fact started it that way. I'm sure if it wasn't him, it was another bushcrafter, called the 5 C's. The 5 C's in this particular video are going to cover combustion, cover, cordage, cutting, and container. Utilizing the 5 C's and those items that apply to the 5 C's will help you get out of a situation that you might get into that'll help you survive. It'll help you sustain your life until a point where you can be found, or at least work yourself out of a situation, or at least extend that period of time from if you had nothing at all. And when I started to put this together, it's such a simple kit. It doesn't take up very much room. It comes in different forms, and when I use them, I mean, I could use them in a, if I go out for a 4-day camp, I'll have all of these items, but they won't be in this particular vessel. They'll be in an ILBE or a backpack because I'll have other items. So this is sort of like a minimalist approach, at least for me, and each one of these kits are personal to an individual. But it's a way to put some items in a kit so that if you go out into the woods, it'll help you overcome a bad situation, getting lost, you're out of water, or you sprain your ankle and you really can't get out of the woods before dark, or what have you. So the vessel isn't quite as important as the items represented inside, and in the items themselves, I'm not asking you to buy these particular items, but they just represent some of the C's, if you will, and you can do your research and buy the items or collect the items that best suit you. So let's start with the outside of the bag, since it is the bag that's in front of the camera at the moment. This is a Pathfinder Shoulder Bag. You can't find it in the Pathfinder School website. I'm not an endorser of the Pathfinder School, but I do like the bag, and I do like the kit that it came with, which we'll go over with some of the items in here are also from the Pathfinder School. But it was a great working platform for me to make this size kit. This is the kit that I have by the door. I can pick up and go. It has a shoulder strap on it so I can carry it in the woods without it's not cumbersome. It fits nicely on my size. I'm 6'1". It adjusts fine to it. I did add two things to the side of the bag, two accessories which are called grenade pouches, and we'll go over why I added those, but it just extended the carrying capability of the bag. So without further ado, we're going to get into the bag. We're going to take off the items that not only cover the 5 C's, but some of my other personal bonus items, I call it, to help make it a little bit life a little easier above and beyond the 5 C's. So we'll start with the side pouches, because one of the pouches is a 5 C and one of them is a nice to have, or a bonus item. The first item is cordage. It's always good to have a piece of cordage. I use about 40 feet of paracord. If you can get more in there, I could probably get another 10 feet in there. Paracord, tarred bank line of various sizes, whatever works for you. Jute twine would be better than nothing, but nice to have a piece of cordage. Why? You can make a ridge line with it for your shelter. You can hang clothes. You can disembowel some of this stuff to make fishing line or sewing. You can use it to lash things together with, etc. So good to have there. On the other grenade pouch is a nice bonus item for me. It's not part of the 5 C's. It's a headlamp. This happens to be an Energizer headlamp, if I can get it out. You know, I get it in a big box store, relatively cheap. Takes 3 AAA batteries, and they last a long time. Certainly now you have one of these things, now you have to be aware of battery life and whether or not, you know, how old are the batteries, do I carry spare batteries? It is something extra to look at, but for me it's worth it, because being able to see at night sometimes can help you facilitate making a shelter. Processing firewood and a headlamp, keeping your hands free, is a bonus for me. Okay? On the back of the bag is a nice little pouch that holds my second C that we're going to talk about, which is cover. It's a 9x12 painter's drop plastic sheet, which I can form easily into a shelter utilizing my ridge line and making some tie outs with it, or you know, throwing some snow on the corners or rocks on the corners to hold it down. But it's just a nice quick shelter that I can throw up to keep the rain off me. It'll keep the wind away from me. It'll hopefully contain some warmth, maybe from a fire that I could make, etc. So that slips in the back there. And I think I paid $2 at Home Depot for it, something like that. But you could put any kind of cover in there that you wanted, whatever size or material. Obviously, size is an issue if you're trying to keep something compact. You know, the bigger the tarp, you're going to end up with a bigger vessel at some point. All right, on the front of this bag, there's a couple of different compartments. In the first compartment, I have a multi-tool that has a knife, and it also has a screwdriver. It has a pair of pliers, good to have if you're trying to make a fishing hook or repairs or whatever. But having the knife on there is one of our C's in terms of cutting. I also have a number 10 fish hook. It's sort of a bonus item. It's not a fish hook, excuse me, a sewing needle. The sewing needle is good if you want to try to make repairs utilizing some cordage. If you can get some of the strands out of the paracord, you could use that for making repairs. You could, I think there's a way that you can utilize this needle as a fish hook, although it's a pretty large one. But there's other uses for it as well, like an awl, making holes, etc. I have a safety pin on here I'm not going to take off, but I'm going to show you. Safety pin you can make into a fish hook. You can get a splinter out of your finger, hold 2 pieces of cloth together, repair your clothes, all those kinds of things. And if you have kids on the trail and you got a diaper issue, you got a spare safety pin. Okay, inside this compartment, we're going to talk about another C, and that's combustion. I have a round tin, an Altoids looking tin, and a compass, a lighter, a sharpening stone, going back to the other C, the cutting C, and a ballpoint pen. I also carry a pencil in here as well, because I like to have a writing tool to take notes, etc., on a piece of paper or whatever. If you have to leave somebody a note, if you're not sure where you are, you could write a note, put it on a tree, and I'm like, I was here at such and such a time, and I'm heading north. Why do you know it's north? You have a compass. Okay, so the other thing with a ballpoint pen is it doesn't always work so great when it's cold, but you can break it down for other purposes. Think about it. In a ballpoint pen, you have two tubes. One's got ink in it, one doesn't have ink in it. You have a spring. You have the ability to stab or poke. You have plastic, which you could melt and burn in the fire to sustain your fire. There's multiple uses for it, so it doesn't take up much room, doesn't weigh a lot. Add a ballpoint pen to your kit. All right, so I'm going to move this aside and break these things down and talk real quickly about them. It's not important you know exactly what they are, because we'll discuss further about their use and demonstrations later on. But let's just get to know what they are in terms of how they fit into the kit. I have a flint and steel, okay, for making fire, creating sparks. I have 3 items called Surefire, which are cotton wadding impregnated with some sort of accelerant or paraffin. In the case you have a wet fire and you're trying to start a fire from scratch, if you can get one of these lit, they will light and stay lit under damp conditions. They go a long way, so you only need about half of one of these at a time. I carry 3. That's good for 6 tries. I also have some Ranger bands in here, which are basically rubber bands that we make from bicycle inner tubes. And the reason we like those is because these are real rubber. Rubber bands that you buy commercially are made of latex, which deteriorate and rot just from being out in the air. These do not, so these last a long time. So that's my kit, and I like this particular steel from the Pathfinder school because of the recess in there. You can use this as an upper hub for a bow drill, so it has a multi-purpose, and we always love multi-purpose. And it goes together back in the Altoids container. Round tin holds char cloth. Char cloth actually, which is made in the container that it's coming into you live via this video. Char cloth is one of those items to help you with fire. Basically, if you can get a spark to nest on it, you can develop an ember, which you can transfer into a tinder bundle and blow into fire. And like I said, the container that it comes in is the container that you can make it in. Ergo, the hole here. You basically put some cotton swatches in here, place this in your bed of embers in your fire. The smoke and heat will come out of that hole, but it won't let the oxygen in to complete the combustion process, thereby just leaving you with, after about 5 minutes or so, you take it out, let it cool, and it'll just leave the char cloth itself. Great stuff to help you start a fire. We'll go through that in detail. So don't try to make this by me showing you and telling you in that few seconds, because it's a little bit more involved than that, but that's the basics of it. I have a sharpening stone it's basically a diamond impregnated piece of steel. It's got different grits on each side, but it's not for major work, it's just to keep it razor sharp. If you get a nick or a crack or something like that, there's not a lot you can do with this, but that rarely happens anyway, and we do have 2 knives. So lighter, who cares? It's not very fancy, but if you need to get a fire going in a hurry, it doesn't weigh a lot. Like I said, it has sparks that you can use even if it's out of fuel, and you're good to go. A quick way to start a fire. A compass to find your way, and also this has a built-in magnifying glass that I like, so you can light fire with that as well. So you have just another, how many ways of starting fire there? 4, 5? So that takes care of pretty much almost all of combustion, except inside the main part of the kit we have a Ferrocerium rod, Okay, it's got a striker and a lanyard to keep things together. You know, as far as I'm not supposed to endorse or not endorse some of this stuff, I'm not 100% happy with this because of this lanyard. It just, to me, it just, I don't know, it seems like it would be awful cumbersome if you had some gloves on or your hands were cold or whatever. But it's got a real heavy duty ferrocerium rod in there. That part I really like. Another item in the kit I have, now we're getting into cutting, but we're transitioning from fire into cutting, and we've got a little bit of both on this tool. And although I took this out of the bag, I have to be honest with you, this doesn't stay in the bag generally, it stays on my person. And the reason is if the bag and I get separated, this tool, this knife, I'll have, and it covers 2 C's. It has a ferrocerium rod in the back, and it, of course, it's a knife. So now I've got a cutting tool and I've got a means of making combustion. If I can find a birch tree, I've got a fire in 10 minutes. Or a similar tinder situation where all I need to do is take this off, I create a spark, and I can get a fire going. So this stays on my person, and the multi-tool, which also has a knife on it, which is also a cutting tool, stays, as I said, with the bag. Another cutting tool that I have, now you can, if your rucksack allows, you can also add an axe, but I choose to have a saw as my other cutting tool. This Baco saw has been with me for 4 years, still sharp. The only thing I've done to it is adjust the screws slightly, and I did that when it came right out of the box, so it comes together and folds out a little easier. And I've coated the blade on occasion with either some WD-40 or Croil that keeps the pine deposits to a minimum. You know, when you get pitch deposits on here, it just makes it a little harder to saw. If you go on the website and you want a Baco saw, they do come in different tooth configurations. Silky also makes a great saw as well. I'm going to actually do a review down the road and a comparison on the two. For now, this is my saw of choice. All right, moving on from cutting. So now if we think about it now, we had 3 cutting tools. We had 3 cutting tools. We have 1 wad of cordage, the paracord, which was, if it was proper paracord, it would be, you know, strands inside of a cord. So there would be multiple cordage there, etc. So you notice there's some redundancy here. And the redundancy is on purpose because, you know, if you have 1 tool and you break it, you don't have any tools. If you have 2 or 3 tools and you break one, you still have a backup. So it's something to think about. All right, in terms of containers, now this came with the Pathfinder kit. You certainly don't need stainless steel or whatever. I just happen to like this, and here's my main container for one of my C's. It's a stainless steel large. It's a large mouth and it's a large sized canteen. It's stainless steel, which means if I can fashion a quick bottle hanger, I can gather and boil, which means I can purify water in this container, let it cool, simply replace the cap, and now I've just created and can transport purified drinkable water. Okay. It came with a military style pot / cup, a little bit larger than what the military is using. It's over 25 ounces. It says the graduations, which are etched in the side here, go up to 25 ounces, 700 milliliters. Very large, and as you can see, this is no hanger queen. It's been in the fire a time or two, and it's boiled water very quickly. It also was nested into and came with a stainless steel, they call it a stove. You can put this right in your fire. It makes for a nice stable platform to put your pot on or your canteen. You could also just use it standalone on a stone and make a small fire underneath to boil a little bit of water. Works well. I've used it both ways. You could probably use some sort of alcohol burner under there as well. I think the only thing you're limited to in terms of how to use that thing is your creativity. All right. And again, as I said, they all nest together real well. That's kind of neat too, and I really like the fact that this is open as much as it is here in terms of a wide mouth. I mean, if it was dry in there, which it's not now, it's still a little damp from where I washed it, but you could nest a lot of things in there. You know, you could put coffee, you know, in plastic bags, of course, but you could use that space in there to carry other items. As a bonus item, I also purchased a lid with the kit. It goes on the inside here and it slides in that pouch, but everybody knows it's easier to boil a covered pot of water than it is an open pot of water. So I think that covers all our C's. I hope you found this informative. At least it's gotten you thinking about containers, cordage, combustion, cutting, and cover. Down in the show notes, I'm going to add some links to where you can find some of these items. But go out there and do your research and read some reviews. Google a bunch of this stuff out. The only thing I'm going to say again is if you're looking for a knife, I strongly would consider this because of price and durability. Just pound for pound, you know, like I said, I wasn't going to endorse anything, but here I am endorsing it. It really worked well. Hit the like button if you like the video. Please subscribe, because in the future we're going to have a lot more videos using all of these items that you see in front of you, and then some. And if you have any comments or suggestions, or want to talk about cordage or knives or whatever, please comment below. Love to hear your suggestions and advice. And good dialogue is the best dialogue. So till next time, get out in the woods, stay safe, be prepared. We'll talk to you real soon. Take care now.